Yo, what is going on, guys? We are back today to discuss another tier list video, the best offensive champions ranked in Marvel Contest Champions in my own personal opinion. Here's the full list here, scroll to the bottom, and then so these guys are cut off a little bit in the bottom of the god tier, so that's that. We're going to scroll up now. So this is my list, and again, this is my list, my own personal list based on my experience playing Marvel Contest of Champions for over 4 years. Playing with all these new characters when they come out, my first initial thoughts, where I put them. It's totally cool to disagree with me. I encourage you to disagree with me. That's fine, man. But tell me why. Be constructive. Don't be a jerk about it. And write me down in the comments below, because the first thing I do before I start working on my next iteration of this is I go to my last video and I read through the comments and I make changes based on what you guys say, and if I agree with your arguments. And a lot of these changes, if you compare the list from before and you look in the comments, is because of that. So yeah, disagreeing is fine, but keep it constructive, keep it civil in the comments, please. Don't need just negative, derogatory comments. That doesn't really help. So let's talk about the list a little bit. So I made some changes. So Beyond God's tier was always the highest tier. I went ahead and created a new tier, X tier, and this is just best in class. So this is just going to be reserved for one champion in each class. The champion that I think is the overall best in the class. So this one was pretty easy to do, except for like one class. There's only one class where I had a bit of a hard time, and it's someone pretty new. So for skill, Nick Fury, of course, he's the best skill champion in the game by far. The only champion that even comes close to being as good as Nick Fury is Aegon, and that's only in 2 situations, in Abyss and in Labyrinth. Outside of those 2 situations, I'll take a Nick Fury over Aegon any single day of the week. Next, we get to the Mystic class. Dr. Doom, he's the king of the class. I don't think anybody's really disputing that at this point. The only champions that I'd say come close, it's Clairvoyant, Sorcerer Supreme, but I think Doom just overall is better based on his stats and his power control and damage output alone. So yeah, Doom pretty much agreed upon as unanimously is the best Mystic. For tech, Ghost of course. There's some really good tech champs in the game, but Ghost with full synergies, full suicides, everything like that, top 2 champs in the entire game, undisputed. For Cosmic, this one's interesting. Right now it's Corvus. This could see change one day. Cosmic Ghost Riders I thought about it, but I can't do that yet. I think it's tough. But I think Corvus is the best Cosmic champion. He has been for a long time. I think he still is for now. There's some potential for Cosmic Ghost Rider, but I can't do that yet. I can't make that bold of a claim yet. So Corvus up there for now. We're gonna skip Mutant for a sec. Talk about Science. Quake, she's the best Science champion in the game. No one's disputing that. She's arguably the best champion in the entire game. If you can play her perfectly, she's ridiculously overpowered. And then Mutants. And I put Magneto, which some people might disagree with this, which is, again, cool. It's totally fine. Some people might think Omega Red is. Some people might think someone else is. That's fine. I think Magneto is. I just think he's so ridiculously good after his update against Metal Champions. And outside of the Metal Champion matchups, he's still pretty good. But it's in those Metal Champion matchups where he is just so phenomenal. And just 50% perfect block. So many other things, the insane damage output versus bleed and non-bleed immune, minus 70% ability accuracy. It is insane how good he is versus metal champions. And the real worry I had with him was against tech champions, because most metal champs are not most, a lot of metal champs are tech. And I was like, oh, well, that's class disadvantage, but he just completely turns class disadvantage off if they're metal, which is amazing. It's so amazing. I think Magneto is the best mutant. A vast majority of the champions in this game are metal, so he just has so many good matchups, and you don't really need to bring him to the matchups where there isn't a metal champion. Those are the matchups you want to bring him for. That's what he was made for. That's what his buff focused on, and that's perfect. I think the Magneto buff is overall one of the best. I think it is the best buff in the entire game, because it's what Magneto should be, just a metal killer, which is what he is in the comics. If there's metal, he's going to destroy that opponent, which I think Magneto's is perfect. And I think it brings him to the top of the mutant class. So that's the Class X that I recently made. And I don't know, let me know what you guys think about that. I thought it was kind of cool. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Now let's talk about some new champions. So we had a couple of new mutant champions, and I was thinking, do I want to put like ranked champs on their horseman abilities? I feel like it'd be better to just make a like horseman tier list, like of all the mutant champions in the game as horsemen, and rank them on a similar tier list to this. Let me know if that's something you guys would like to see, because I don't know, I didn't really want to do it on this one, because for example, like a champion like Wolverine, who is all the way over here in the A tier, as a horseman, he goes to beyond God tier, and maybe even best in class. He could rival Magneto for that with the horseman and the Apocalypse synergy. I think he's seriously that strong as a horseman. So, it really depends. I feel like a horseman tier list on its own would be pretty cool. And same for Gambit. Where's Gambit? Gambit's all the way over in D tier right now. I think Gambit right now as a horseman is like at least above God tier with that perfect block alone. At least God tier. I think I'd put him in above God tier. And after his buff, I think Gambit as a horseman has potential. If they don't change the way the horseman works, I think he has potential to be beyond God tier, and again, even challenge for that best in class potentially as a horseman, because that perfect block is ridiculous. And if they're gonna buff his attack too, and give him some immunities and more defensive capability, looks pretty good for Gambit. And same with Cable. Cable as a horseman, easily above God tier, maybe even higher. So yeah, I feel like a tier list on its own for that would be cool. But speaking of all these mutants, let's talk about them. I'm not sure if I included Airwalker and Dragon Man on the last tier list, but Airwalker I put him in at God tier. I think Airwalker is pretty slept on. I don't think he's this amazing Herald of Galactus, but he's not too far off of Silver Surfer. He's better than Terrax for sure. And yeah, I put him in God tier. I think he's a little too slept on. I don't think he's like crazy good or anything, but I think he meets my standards of what a God tier is in 2020. And then Dragon Man makes it to the above God tier. I think Dragon Man is overall a really good champion. He's got some pretty cool stuff going on, and I like him. I rate him. So yeah, those two champions. Now let's talk about some mutants. So Professor X and Apocalypse. So Professor X lands in the above God tier. I really like Professor X. I'm a really big fan of him. My problems with him is no really debuff immunities. He's got some immunity to reverse controls, which is cool. He did pretty well against the Grandmaster, and I'm a really big fan of his falter mechanic. How it's a bit of a safety net while playing him. So yeah, I think he makes it into the above God tier. And personally, I prefer to play Professor X over Apocalypse. I find Apocalypse playstyle a little bit stressful, but once you can really take full advantage of it, it's pretty ridiculous. And Apocalypse just has so much utility that he can offer himself. But if Apocalypse didn't have his synergies or his horseman abilities, I wouldn't put him in beyond God tier. I'd put him in above God tier. Definitely not above God. He definitely wouldn't be in beyond God tier without his horseman abilities or his synergies. But because of everything that he can do to the mutant class, because he can take champions from the C and D tier and bring them all the way up to SS or even triple S tier, I think he deserves that beyond God tier status. He has so much going on. He's overall a really good base champion. Not the best, but really good, and just there's so much that he can do for the entire mutant class that I think he deserves that beyond God tier spot. So yeah, the two mutant champions, absolute bangers. The mutant class is already super stacked, and yeah, I think these guys are a really great addition. White Magneto, I put him in above God tier. If the problem with White Magneto is really Red Magneto, if Red Magneto wasn't in the game, I think White Magneto would maybe be beyond God tier because of what he can, like, he still has minus 70% ability accuracy reduction against metal champions, and he's a really good champion in his own right, but he's just so overshadowed because Red Magneto is so much better just on their own. White Magneto has that pre-fight ability, which is really awesome too, but I think White Magneto kind of got the short end of the stick as far as just being a solo reliable champion, but he is still really good in his own right. Like if I started a new account and I pulled White Magneto, I would be really excited. I think that's still a really good pull, and he is really good on his own. the mutant class just has so many good champions, man. It's crazy. You can see so much yellow in here and over here. Like the mutant class, it is so stacked. A lot of yellow over here too. It's crazy. And now we have 2 new champions to talk about. It's weird. It was 2 mutants, and then it was 2 cosmics, and now next month is looking like 2 science characters. It's looking like they're going for double class types. It's kind of weird, but yeah. So we got Red Goblin and Cosmic Ghost Rider. So Red Goblin, I'm putting him in the SS tier, above God tier. I think Red Goblin is phenomenal. I think he's really good. I think he really got overshadowed by Cosmic Ghost Rider. He is living in that Cosmic Ghost Rider shadow for sure, man. I think Red Goblin, he's got power control. He's got really, really good damage once you build him up. The problem is building him up. You gotta win fights to gain persistent charges. That's the slightly annoying thing. But I think he's a really good counter to the Spider-Verse champions. I think he's like a much better Venom, basically. That's kind of how I view Red Goblin. He's like Venom, but with a bunch of other cool stuff. And yeah, if Venom isn't above God tier, Red Goblin certainly is. So yeah, I think he is cemented in the SS tier. I feel like he's also kind of being slept on, but it's understandable just because everyone's talking about Cosmic Ghost Rider. And speaking of Cosmic Ghost Rider, he drops right into the Beyond God tier. I think Cosmic Ghost Rider is by far the best new character released this year. Some people like to count buff champions as new champions, like Magneto. If we're talking like that, then I'd probably say Magneto is overall better than Cosmic Ghost Rider, just a lot more utility. But out of the new champions released this year, I think Cosmic Ghost Rider is 100% the best one so far. He is so good, man. His damage output is just honestly ridiculous, and he's got some pretty cool utility going for him too. Not the most utility, but his damage is just stupidly good that he doesn't really even need the utility. But it's got bleed immunity, he's got incinerate immunity, he has a form of nullification, he has a form of power lock, which, like, let me just give you a scenario where it can happen. Someone was in my alliance was kind of sleeping on Cosmic Ghost Rider and saying that you're going to be using Corvus over him like all the time, especially in like Alliance War. And he's like, where would I use Cosmic Ghost Rider over Corvus, like in Alliance War? And I gave him a scenario the reason I gave the scenario is because it just happened to me. It was the first off-season war. I joined war, and I took Path 5, which is ebb and flow knockdown. You need to knock down the opponents. The first fight was Mephisto. I used Cosmic Ghost Rider. He did fine because Cosmic Ghost Rider is incinerate immune. Of course, you wouldn't want to use Corvus against Mephisto and everything like that. So I'm like, all right, I won't even. That doesn't really count. Sure, it's just whatever. Then the next fight, it's an Annihilus again with ebb and flow knockdown, but the node also has heavy hitter. So it's very difficult to knock Annihilus down with a heavy because you can't parry him because of the heavy hitter. You can't bait heavy attacks. So it makes it for a pretty tricky fight. Cosmic Ghost Rider can nullify his rod by placing the damnation, and then you're free to parry, knock him down. So just an example of like where his utility can come into play. I really, really like Cosmic Ghost Rider, man. That's why I put up 94 million points in the arena to get him. I think he is cemented in Beyond God tier and potential for the fight for best in class. He's just, he outclasses Corvus in damage 100%. 100%. No one's. I don't think anyone's debating that. If they are, well, then I got some gameplay for you. But Corvus's awakened ability of not dying is just so ridiculous, man. It is crazy how good that ability is in places like Alliance Quest. You can chill on 1% forever, and just the utility of that not dying, not being able to be killed by any sort of passive types of damage. That's just such a strong utility. It's really hard to trump that. But yeah, he firmly lands the Beyond God tier. For the next tier list, we'll probably have some more buff champions. For this one, Punisher 2099, I moved him up. He's now in the God tier. Don't put him in the above God tier. I need to see more from him. I think he has some really solid damage, some decent utility. So I think there's a pretty good buff on Punisher 2099. For Falcon and Gambit, I think some early predictions on those. Gambit, I think both of them are easily going to land in God tier. I think both of them are for sure going to land in the God tier category. And I think there's potential to go higher. Gambit as a horseman, dude, I think is going to be ridiculous once he gets buffed. If they don't mess with that synergy. If they mess with that synergy and take away his infinite perfect block, then I don't know, not going to be as good as I'm thinking. But I think they both have some serious potential. I think they both have some potential for above God tier, maybe even beyond God tier. We're gonna have to see. I'm excited. And then the buff that I'm most excited for is actually Daredevil Netflix, dude. It's about time these skill champions start getting buffed. And Daredevil Netflix is getting an entire overhaul. So he's D tier right now. I really hope this dude makes a huge jump and goes all the way to the Beyond God tier, maybe even higher, because Netflix Daredevil, the show, is so good, man. I absolutely love the show. I think Matt Murdock in the MCU, which this game makes characters right from the MCU. I think Matt Murdock in the MCU is one of the best hand-to-hand fighters. He is so good at hand-to-hand combat, man. It is crazy. So he should really be a strong skill champion. The man has the skills, dude. He's got the skills. I really hope to see him just jump all the way to Beyond God tier, man. I really do. That'd be so awesome, dude. Because he deserves it. He really does. He really does. But yeah, I'm just excited to see what kind of abilities they're gonna give him, and the art that Kat made was phenomenal. But yeah, guys, that's gonna do it for this tier list. Let me know what you guys think. If you agree, if you disagree. Again, it's cool to disagree. Just let's keep it civil in those comments below. Yeah, if you guys enjoyed, drop a thumbs up. Let me know if you guys would like to see another iteration of the defensive tier list, if you want to update one of those. And let me know how often you guys would like to see these tier lists, because right now they don't really have a timeline on them. I just make them like every couple months when there's like 6 new champions to talk about or something. But yeah, if you guys would like to see them sooner, let me know. But yeah, that's gonna do it. Thank you so much for watching this video. Peace out.